Thanks for joining me. Dream of Datafication, Capitalizing on Health Data. I'm Stefan Jäger, your host, and welcome on stage, Jane Smorodnikova. I hope I didn't butcher your name there. Try to pronounce it to my best of European knowledge. Nico Wege and Simon Sollberger. The global market for wearable health devices was estimated at 18.1 billion in the year 2021, and it's projected to grow at a rate of about 16%, so about 38.9 billion by 2026. Essentially, our world is preparing for a digital health revolution by data, and the two gentlemen and Jane are part of this revolution. Jane, if you could briefly introduce yourself. You're CPO of Welltory. That's a health coach app. Jane, please tell us what you actually do, what Welltory does.
So actually, we are trying to make sense of it. So we are integrating with more than like 1,000 apps and gadgets out there, get all the data and try to understand what is this, what does it mean, and put it into some model like your health behavior lead to this health outcomes, and then use this data to entertain people, to keep them in touch with their body, with their life by storytelling. So we are like actually something like a entertaining app based on data.
Thank you, Jane. Nico, we briefly talked before, and your company has been around for a long time. Cardioscan is a product that consists mainly of bioscanners. So what is it really that you do, and how do you basically influence people's lives?
We at Cardioscan, we develop smart health screening solutions, and we want to make health and body data visible. And we use this body data to create individual recommendations for training, for nutrition, and for regeneration. And to put it in a nutshell, we use health data to make your training work.
Thank you for that. And I think we'll get right back to you in a bit, because your approach is a little bit different than Jane's and Simon's, because you actually created a software and hardware ecosystem. But we'll get to that in a second. Simon, last but not least, you're the co-founder of PEAR Sports. What does PEAR Sports do? You described as a personalized, adaptive digital fitness and wellness coaching solution. What is it really?
Yeah, essentially we're a smart coaching platform. So, and we've been around for a couple of years as well. But really our mission was to make this big shift from dumb fitness and dumb health to smart health and smart fitness, to really put, evidence-based mechanisms underneath, right? So that's really what we're about, a smart coaching platform.
I'll give you the first icebreaker question for the whole panel. We'll start with Jane again. But if we talk about fitness data, it sounds rather sophisticated, complex, theoretical. But really, how would fitness data influence your family, your life, your own life, your personal life, your grandmother's life, or your children's life to become healthier? Jane, I'll let you start.
So basically, we have tons of strange use cases how people use fitness data. So for example, we interpret data from Apple Watch, and we have poker gamers who decide based on this data, is it a good day to put all their money in, for example. Or we have software developers, and they can find that the quality of their code actually depends on their running schedule, and we can show them these correlations, and they change their health behavior, not because, health risks, but because of their career. And I think that's a combination between fitness data and other data, like our work data, performance data, entertainment data, can make this, the whole picture work and show people like different insights about what is going on with them.
Nico, I'll let you go next. How does health data touch you personally and your family? How would you talk your family into actually sharing data?
So taking a look at sorry, Stefan, did you say Nico? Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Oh, all right. So taking a look at my children, I wouldn't give them fitness data at all, because they play, they run around, they have fun, and they stay fit while having fun. because they don't need health data as motivators, but we, the adults, we need them. So at Cardioscan, we learned that health data is like one of the biggest motivators, and the body data itself can be motivational. And because we are not playing anymore, and we are making a workout, so work is not fun at all. So we have to bring the motivation back.
Simon, again, and I promise you, we'll shuffle around in the order of people talking a little.
No, I think this to me is kind of an interesting question, right? Like, I think as an industry, we need to kind of redefine what data is fitness data, because it has a negative connotation about privacy. And I think if we can really shift it more for a fuel for good, a fuel for engagement, a fuel for connections, then I think we're on the right track, right? If this data creates meaningful communities, right, we move beyond leaderboards, right? We use it to create human connections. I think that's really where things are going. And I think the pandemic was interesting, right? It's kind of a two-edged sword. On one hand, it was such a huge catalyst for digital health and fitness, but also I think the users expect more now, right? I think they're kind of post-Peloton. You know, it's like we have a little bit of fatigue. I think all the users are, now we know what digital fitness is, but now you're looking for the next thing. And I think if we can kind of use data for good and create new kind of next level experiences that fuel better insights, better guidance, better engagement, I think that's really where, as an industry, I think we should push towards.
And I'd really like to pause here for a second, because you basically said we are moving beyond the leaderboards, because it's human nature that once you create data, you compare data. Now, let me ask you, and we'll go back in the same order, basically. But what devices do you own? How do you use them? Is there a device that you constantly wear, that you constantly check, that monitors your health data, for example, or your pulse rate? I mean, it's as simple as the Apple Watch, the proverbial these days, right?
Are you asking me, or?
Yes, I'm asking you. Sorry, Tom. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I think we're really entering finally kind of an era of interoperability, right? Because this notion that each device has its own experience and its own kind of interpretation of your data, I think that's probably coming to an end, because really we get meaning through context and fusing data, right? Because if I don't have the context, let's say my heart rate is elevated, but I don't know why. Is it because I'm going upstairs, or is it because I have COVID? We need the context to make it meaningful, right? So I think we're going to see more and more interoperability, and I think kind of what I call magic capture, right? Like if you look at the Apple AirTag, right? So now with ultra wideband, this little device is constantly advertising itself. So the moment I get close, it knows I'm close. And I think we're going to see that with fitness and health, right? So this whole notion that I have to start a session or that I have to tell the system what am I doing is ludicrous. Right. So I think what's going to happen is just by me being close to my bike or me being close to my weights will automatically know what I'm doing and create more meaning and more insights of what I should be doing and where I'm going.
I would absolutely hate my Apple Watch talk to my weights, because they would basically tell me that I forgot about them for the last few weeks or months. But that's a different story. Nico, what about you? What devices do you own? What do you wear constantly, if any at all? And which ones do you use on a daily basis?
So on a daily basis, I use the Apple Watch because it's like the whole package, and I can also not just use like the fitness data, but also like the other experience that I have with the Apple Watch. For me, I mean, I'm lucky. I work with Cardioscan, so I can use our own devices if I want a deeper analysis, and this is what I actually do. So when I'm in the office, I use our MeScan. It's like the heart rate variability to check my training readiness, because I also experienced that I might have done the same workout last week and today, and I feel completely different after the workout. So it's interesting even for me to find out, why is that? So why is the effect so different? And so, but to be honest, I'm like more on an expert level and not the common user. So it's hard to compare.
Jane, what about you? Please don't tell me you have an Apple Watch too.
So actually I have two. I have Samsung Galaxy Watch and Apple Watch because we already have Apple Watch integration to make sense from this data and tell you like how, what is your stress, health risks, recovery, etc. from Apple Watch. And now we are launching the same thing for Samsung. So I'm just testing everything. But Welltory is about connecting the dots. So I have connected my smart home devices, my online activity, my tasks in Asana, my Google Calendar, my Zoom meetings, and even the revenue of my company is connected with all the fitness data, so I can see how my stress is correlated with our revenue. It's horrible. So it's really hard to live with this. So yeah, to build a complex picture, and you actually can say that, your Zoom meetings are really connected with your stress and your ability to fall asleep on the right time. So all these correlations and causations can be modeled from data.
Yeah, so I agree. I found out that I even focus much more, like in the last years, on stress and on health data than I used before. So before it was more about workout and how much weight did I put on, and but it's switched to much more stress related things. So yeah, I totally agree.
And sorry, Jen, I have to ask you a final question before we basically move on how software can help the healthcare system. How do you unplug? I mean, you just talked about 10, 12 different devices that are all networked with each other. When do you actually go offline?
Every day. I live in 10 meters from the ocean, so I just swim. But sometimes, of course, I swim also with my headphones and special hats with my smartphone because I'm on the meeting in a Zoom. So sometimes it doesn't work, but I try to do my best every day to go offline.
All right. Now, we said we're going to split this into chapters, and the first chapter is how can health software help data to be part of the healthcare system. Now, we know that the worldwide market for digital health and well-being apps will have a market volume of about 35 billion euro in 2026. And I'll start with you, Jane, again. Give us some insight. Who are your customers? What are the goals? And what's your business model, essentially?
We are a consumer business, so people pay us their own money out of pocket for our software. And like, what I think about this is, somebody, I don't know who will be the lucky one, but somehow the industry will turn on to the patient side and become a preventive and personalized health. And it will not help the health industry. It will make it they will have to change to get into the changed industry, because like when in the future data will make patients powerful, they will have all the data, they will have smart algorithms, smart best apps, best AI that will be maybe smarter than most of the doctors out there. And it will give power back to the patients somehow. And I'm not sure how it will happen, but this market will change, like Spotify and iTunes changed the music industry, like advertising industry was changed. So it will be completely changed, and healthcare industry should think smart about how they should prepare to get there, because a lot of things will change. It will be slow, but it will change.
I really, really liked what you said about how data can actually empower the people that are providing that data. I mean, if a doctor would hear you right now, they'd be scared, because even now with Google, I know I just talked to a doctor. Essentially, he said, when a patient comes to me, the opinion I give him is already the second opinion, because his own opinion that he Googled is already the first. So it will definitely change probably the healthcare system. Well, at least how patients approach their own body, their own health. Simon, what about you? What's your business case? Is there an average customer that you can talk about, and what's your business model?
Yeah, so our company has, we kind of work across a couple of verticals. We have, several contracts with the Department of Defense. We work with large insurance companies like United Healthcare. We work with gyms. We work with consumer brands. So we have a pretty broad kind of portfolio. But I think the most exciting thing that we see, especially in the health side of things, is it's going to be this massive shift from kind of this old school care and treatment to prevention and health and wellness. And really what these big insurance companies are looking for is, up right now, they're not front of mind to a consumer. And if anything, they're kind of viewed as negative, right? It's an insurance company, they're boring. But these companies really want to start having a dialogue with the consumers. They're also very afraid that tech companies like Amazon and Apple and Google are going to eat their lunch. So they are really interested to have a great user experience. And to what Andy Hall had said, this is all, it's all going to be about design, beautiful design, seamless, frictionless engagement, and celebrate insights. Use the data to really contextually engage people, give them insights, celebrate insights. And I think that's really what's exciting to us, is to have a meaningful dialogue with health data.
And what you said, let me just stay here for a second with you. So essentially what you're saying, insurance, and that happened with a lot of technologies, as Jane put it, iTunes revolutionized the music market. Is that what you see with FitTech or health tech companies, that they will probably also revolutionize the healthcare system market, the insurance market specifically?
I do believe I think that's where we headed. It's like basically it's consumerizing the healthcare experience, because up until you talk to insurance till something happens to you. And I think that model is going to shift. Like I say, they want to have an ongoing dialogue. They want to present as a positive brand, so I think, so we're going to see consumer grade experiences. So, I think all the existing healthcare apps have been very drab and very boring. And so I think we're going to see that shift dramatically. So they really want to have a great conversation with their customers and provide a great user experience.
Nico, when we talked before, you said we actually don't have one business case. We have 4 of them. And if you want me to talk about all 4 of them, I will really need some time. Can you narrow it down a little and tell us what your business cases are? Because I know, you've been around for some time, and you've made your experiences and collected your wisdom and knowledge for a long time in the FitTech market.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, we have different solutions and different business models. So we focus on B2B clients, and we sell our Cardioscan screening devices, our hardware, to fitness clubs, doctors' offices, hotels, and so on. And we also sell our Cardioscan software, and the app is a companion for our hardware devices. But there's also a big switch, like in our own focus and our own strategy, because we will focus more and more on B2C customers. So we will keep our B2B clients because it's very important to us, but we will step closer to the end customers, to the end users. So we increase the focus on your app, and we also bring, with one certain business model, we bring the B2B world and the B2C world together. So Stefan, if I tell you what Cardioscan can do for you, okay? So there's a screening device. You stand there just for 45 seconds, and after the time, we know everything, like all the important body data and health data. And you would ask me, oh, that sounds great. Where can I do this? So then I'm like, yeah, we have like more than 6,000 B2B clients. Tell me where you live. I can take a look in our database and give you an address. And this is what we put on the platform. So this is a website that we just launched, and you as the end customer, you just insert the address, and then we give you a list of our B2B clients. You can go there and do this analysis, do the checks, do the screens. And for our B2B clients that are mainly gyms, we give them potential leads so they can become new members in their clubs. So we are bringing together both worlds with the data that we have.
Thank you, Nico. Now, the health market, the health data market, the health fit data market it's a very sensitive topic, obviously. Jane, when you entered the market and your company is now, you were founded, or you founded the company in 2018, I believe, or 2018. What were the major learnings and what were the biggest misconceptions so far? Jane, let me start with you this time.
Actually, I think my biggest misconception was that when I started the company, I thought that everybody is interested in healthy people, and people are interested in health, and employers are interested in healthy employees, and blah blah blah. So always like unicorn world, etc. That was like the biggest learning for me, was that people don't care about their health at all. Just live with this, and only after understanding these concepts, we started to find the right way how to work with this. Because, okay, so you need to admit that people don't care about their health, but you still need to find a way to make them take care about their health in this situation. So that was like the biggest insight for me out there. And actually, we are here, we represent 3 major audiences in health and fitness. So my core audience are like the majority people who are not, who do not have any health conditions, like they are not sick, etc., and who are not so health conscious. So they actually do not work out a lot. And here we see like all this audience, and we choose this audience because it's like the majority and it's the right people you need to engage with if you want to make an impact on preventive health.
Simon, what about you? What were your biggest misconceptions? And one question to all of you. Let's talk about motivation for a second and how we can motivate people to actually move. Now, is an app or device a way to motivate people, or has the motivation to come from the inside and it's merely a supportive tool or supportive measure? Simon, what do you think?
Yeah, I think motivation is an interesting one, right? Like, and I keep going back to kind of the user experience, right? Like, I think health and wellness is very emotional, even though most of the time we present it in very kind of like, charts and graphs and numbers. But I think, my background is design, and one thing we say often is, if I don't feel something, I don't care for it, right? And I think that's where we are as an industry. We need to make people feel something. So, and it's also about value systems, right? It's like we're asking our users to give up data, and what do we give them back? And just giving back tracking, that's not going to make me feel anything anymore, right? So I think in exchange for the data of a user, we need to give them insights. We need to let them participate. We need to demonstrate awareness. It's like, hey, we know who you are, we know where you are in your journey, and we know what's right for you. And then when we engage with them, it's very timely and very contextual, right? So we can demonstrate that we care for them, that we are there for them. I think that's really how we need to start leveraging data, is this kind of smart engagement.
Nico, what about you? And as I mentioned before, you're not just creating software. You actually started out with the hardware. Now you're creating an app. What about you? What were your biggest misconceptions? What were your biggest learnings? And also, what was the best decision you made so far?
Yeah, so I'm personally often talking about like a 360-degree view on health, talking about the complexity of training, nutrition, and regeneration. And like one of the biggest mistakes so far was to lose the focus, because there's a very big risk to lose the focus on your core competence, because so many things are related to each other. Okay, training, nutrition, regeneration. So we were like, hey, let's go deep into nutrition and develop lots of features for this topic. But then we had to realize, oh no, we may be excellent in giving the right advices for your nutrition, but we will never develop the best nutrition app. So focus on your strengths, and maybe it's a better way to find the right partners, build up a network based on the customer's view. So ask yourself which products and services should be combined so that your customer gets a bigger benefit from this network, but don't start like to do everything on your own.
And let me ask you an additional question, because we said it's about an ecosystem. I mean, Apple literally did that. They created the iPod and they created iTunes, and it was a closed off system. Users had to do it. Is that something that you are looking to bring into the future, or with wearables like the Apple Watch that we mentioned before and other wearable devices changing the hardware landscape? That's something that you might think about taking somebody else's hardware in at some point.
Yep. You see, Cardioscan is in the market for like 20 years now, and when we started, we simply needed both components, so hard and software, because there were no good screening devices that we could use for mass market. So we had to develop our own, and the even bigger problem was, and still is, the software that analyzes the data and gives clear advices in a simple way. So this has been the problem 20 years ago. And it still is, because our customers, they don't really want to invest too much time to understand everything related to health. They just need simple graphics, simple advices. And of course, today we see that the software is becoming more and more important to bring the insights directly to the customers. So this is why we also focus much more on the software side, to get more and more into the daily routines of our customers. So it might be more our way to integrate other solutions, or to get into corporations, partnerships and stuff like that. But still, we are happy that we have our own hardware in many gyms out there, because we know about the data that we receive. But maybe we would start at another point if we would start with Cardioscan today, and 20 years ago. Don't know.
Now, you've all been at the edge of health and FitTech data. And Jane, let me start with you this time. Which trends do you see emerge in FitTech right now? What's the next 1 to 3 years going to hold for us? And what, in your personal opinion, is a dead end? What will go away? And I know it's a tough prediction. Nobody wants to, everybody knows the prediction that there's a market for about 6 computers in the world that was made, I think, in the early 20th century. But what do you think is going to happen in, let's say, 1 to 3 years?
Who are you asking?
Jane, that was you. Sorry.
Okay. So actually, I think the data is to create another smartwatch. We can just shut this down and stop doing this, because tech giants close this market for everybody, I think. So you need to do something really unique, like Oura does, to work in that market. If we are talking about consumer side, if we are talking about more medicine graded, clinical graded devices, of course, it's much more opportunities are open out there. But in terms of what is going on next, I think the most important part is that what these fitness trackers are doing right now. So they made this heart rate variability available for everybody in 24/7 mode in the background without making you doing anything. So it's they brought the real health biomarker into background mode. And they are going to add blood pressure. The next big thing in fitness trackers is blood pressure monitoring. And the next big thing is glucose monitoring. And I think, of course, today, it's a really hot thing to all these metabolic startups with glucose monitoring, etc., special devices, patches. But Apple Watch will do this definitely in next 3 years, and they will win this market. Because we don't need to buy anything else except Apple Watch. So that's how I think it will be developed. And I think it's much bigger market for software who will make sense from all this, because they are all competing on signals, on getting the best signal. And they will become more and more open for developers and third-party apps to create this ecosystem and work on delivering something valuable. Because making sense of this data is the most important part here.
I'll go with you next. It's a scary thought, but you are dealing with corporations and businesses. Will businesses and corporations monitor their employees' health data in the future? Is that it's a scary thought, but is it a realistic thought?
I think in some
sorry, Jane, that was for Simon.
fields.
Sorry.
Sorry,
that was for Simon. I'm sorry.
Frame that again.
I said it's a scary thought, generally speaking, but will corporations, businesses, as you mentioned before, working with insurances, have more insights, or for example, on their employees in the future? Will that be possible to monitor employees' health data, for example, and draw conclusions from that?
Yeah, I think it's definitely, it's daunting, right? And I think back to kind of what I said earlier, we definitely want to redefine what health data is and can do. There's a couple of things. One, we need to put the consumer in control, right? And that's where Web3 and some kind of blockchain could help, right? Like we put the user in control of the data. They can decide how much do they surface of the data and where do they bring the data, but also give back to earlier comments, like give real value back, right? If I just give you tracking, that doesn't do anything for me. But if you can really help the person, motivate them, give them real insights, what they should be doing, if there's areas that they might have, more, opportunity to improve. It really comes down to the value system. What do we give them? Do we give them meaningful human interactions, meaningful community, meaningful content, but also put them in control of the data? I think that's important.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. Can I add here? We cannot put people in control with their health data. There are technologies that are validated right now to measure your heart rate. We're using a Wi-Fi signal, using video, high quality video that can actually measure your blood pressure and understand your heart rate just from the video signal. So people will not be able to control their health signals in any way. So we will live in the world where these rules will be looks like differently, not like you can control all your data like in Apple Health. And we will have to have a discussion about this. It will be hard discussion.
I don't want to forget about Nico. Nico, what trends do you see emerge? Nico?
Oh my God, something happened.
All right. Hopefully we can get Nico back. Jane and Simon, I'll stick with Nico.
Oh, yes.
You're back?
Here we go.
Okay, Nico, my last question to you is what trends do you see emerge and what you think will go away in the future?
Yeah, so let me go back. You were also asking if I see a dead end in something. So I think just displaying data in a nice graph has never been enough. So this will definitely be a dead end. And I think there will be more trends. There will be much more in data exchange because there will be more players in the market with much more special focuses. And the users will have different benefits from that, but the integration has to be seamless. And we as the industry, the gym operators and so on, we have to show the customers that data exchange is safe and it gives you additional benefits because the whole thing is getting impossible if the users don't allow us to work with their data. So the legal part will be much more in focus for all of us, and we will see what will be possible and what not.
There's a very good question in our Q&As, and Bernard, thank you for that question. He's asking from a legal point of view, if your app or your ecosystem gives a recommendation or provides a recommendation to your customer, B2C customer, and that customer says he got hurt or injured or got sick by following your recommendation, who will be the one to blame, or even to take it one step further, prosecuted? Is that something that you put in your terms? Is that something that your partner, your B2B partner, will then be held responsible for, or a third party? How do you treat that with your user cases? And Jane, I'll start with you again.
Actually, that's why we keep ourselves into wellness space and provide a science proof with any recommendations we give to our users. And of course, it's terms are important here, but in general, it doesn't differ from like you read a book with some or talk with somebody like a coach who gives you some advice, then you go home and then you get your head into the wall and suffer. So in terms of wellness, it's okay, it's easy. In terms of medicine and clinical graded advices, it's much more complicated. Because actually, it's not my field of expertise, but the responsibility of a doctor is really high, and providing medical advice without being able to get all information you need can be dangerous, of course. But I don't know how they will solve this. We need Babylon Health on board to talk about this, I think.
Simon, what's your opinion on what's your take on
we're obviously operating? We're operating in a lifestyle environment, right? Not under a medical umbrella. And yes, that's covered obviously in user terms and condition. But also, I think we especially in our case, we operate with pretty sophisticated physiological AI and kind of evidence-based models. So it's really important, obviously, to understand who the person is, what they're capable of, and so whatever content we give them is very much aligned with that person, right? So I think it starts there. Obviously, like it's not just we don't just throw random content at them. We can truly figure out what they're capable of and what's right for them at a certain moment in time.
Thanks, Simon. Nico, what about you? Is that something that touches you, what you do, or is that something that that's as Simon just said, it's in your terms, or you just it's a recommendation, you're not ordering somebody to do something?
Yeah, I can repeat what Simon mentioned, because we are in a lifestyle market, and we give recommendations for fitness, for training, but no medical advice. So, as I mentioned before, yes, there are also some doctors' offices that use our hardware and software, so the screening devices, but they use the data and they give their medical advices on their own. So they also have like other information from the patient, and they do not only take our recommendations. So we're not too much into the medical side of this thing.
Thank you. Now, if we look to the future of health data and we're looking at the existing ecosystems, and let's be honest, I mean, Apple and Android ruled the mobile or the smartphone world. Jane, what are the challenges that you've encountered? Because essentially, are you at the mercy of the operating system providers in terms of which data you can gather, how you can use it? Take us a little behind the scenes of how it's to work in such an ecosystem.
Actually, we benefit from this ecosystem a lot, and actually we bet on this. So like 5 years ago, we made a bet that fitness trackers will learn how to track heart rate variability, and it will be the first health biomarker they will be able to track. And we spent several years to get ready for this. And we made a bet that they will open this data, they will make it available. So for a lot of ecosystem right now, like Apple is really open. With Samsung or Garmin, you need special partnerships to get the full data. But all of them understand that if they want to empower the devices, they need developers to create value from this. So I think that they will become more open for developers, even more open than right now. And I think like the thing that Google is not so like open today, it's just because they are still trying to understand how to compete on this market, trying to find their own strategy, like changing people out there and all this stuff. But I think that the open strategy is the only one that will win here.
Thanks. Simon, what about you? And additional question, especially Apple has a tendency to look at great products, great apps, and basically take a good look at it, either integrate it or copy it very well? How do you stay in front of that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Jane. I think the trend is definitely to a more open system and interoperability, because otherwise you're fighting the consumer, and that's never a good business strategy, right? Like we can't silo the consumer, right? Like we want to give choice, because I think what's going to happen is, and I think Nico kind of hinted at that as well, is most consumers will have kind of a tentpole device. That might be your Whoop, or that might be your Apple Watch. But then a lot of people will have kind of supplemental devices, right? Like they might have an Oura Ring in addition. They might have a glucose patch that then kind of informs metabolic health. And I think all this needs to start informing each other. And that's just not going to happen as long as these experiences are siloed. So I think we'll see platforms that ingest multiple data streams from multiple devices to then paint a better picture, a bigger picture. And I think, yeah, that interoperability is going to be a big trend to make it kind of portable, right? Like anything I do well for myself or for my community transforms in some kind of a currency that's portable. I can then, that opens stores that I can donate that currency. I can bring that to my insurance company. I can bring that to my employer, or I can bring that to a brand. And everything is going towards this kind of open doors, kind of frictionless kind of economy.
I won't let you. I won't let you off easy with this one. What are you doing specifically to basically, or how big is the danger of one of the OS providers? And let's talk Apple. Let's talk one of the big cats. To grab your software, what you do, basically copy its function, integrate it into the OS, and we're really sorry. What's your secret sauce against that?
Yeah, that's definitely, that happens all the time, right? Like you let's say you get traction with something, and then one of the big companies, they will integrate that into your system. Obviously, IP is a big deal. Like we started our company 9-10 years ago. So we have a lot of IP around how to capture health and fitness data, how to contextualize it. And so we feel pretty good about our moat around that. And so I think a lot of these companies like Apple and Samsung eventually will have to probably work with some of our companies to either license that or partner up in order to provide these kind of experiences.
Thank you. Now, we talked about our own data before, the very vital stuff, the very sensitive stuff that we are providing, as Jane put it, through cameras. It's crazy to think of it, to be very honest. How does your company protect data, customer data, health data? Nico, I'll go with you this time.
Yep, it's of course, it's such an important topic. So protection of data privacy is like always important. So we're talking about German cloud. We have to keep personal user data separate from health data. So it's very time consuming to follow all the laws, and but of course we do this, and we will always have an eye on like new developments in the legal area. So it's
we have an interesting question. Sorry, we have an interesting question from Debbie. Thank you. Now, with the rules and legislation that we have in place, Jane, how would an employer be able, because you mentioned the camera, blood pressure, and so on and so forth, would a employer actually be able to circumvent all the rules that we have in place to gather data? Is it something that we should really be concerned about, or is it something where we say it's a theoretical case? But any employer, being caught doing that, especially you, they beat you to the moon and back. Lawyers said this.
Yeah, of course. Like right now, what is going on is that it's illegal to monitor. What I think, I have talked with several employers about that, and actually they don't want, to deal with this. They are really afraid of these things. But what they feel is possible is to monitor, and we have talked with them about this, is to monitor teams. Like, what is the stress of my sales team? Is my sales team is going to burn out? Can I do something with this? Maybe I should call some meditation coach or something like that. So what I think is that for for employers, it will be something like a group or a team health management, something like that, and it will be something that people will be okay with, and employers will be able to support health and well-being of their employees at the same time.
Simon, what about you? What's the question that you hear most often when it comes to data protection?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely, for our industry is a big deal. And, like we have clients like the DoD and, so HIPAA compliance and data security is a big deal. And especially some of our European clients, we need to actually run on European servers because Europe obviously has more strict kind of laws around this. But also I think, companies, there's got to be a firewall. And I think now that corporate wellness is becoming more kind of consumerized, I think these will just be separate entities. And, an employer isn't really that interested in all the granular stuff. They just want to make sure that their employees are healthy and engaged. And I think that's really where the focus should be. And because there's nefarious things, right? Let's say if as part of my fitness, journey, there's a DNA test, and that shows I have a marker for lower back pain propensity, I might not get hired for a certain job. So there's real issues there that we need to have a firewall between an employer and, a health platform.
Thank you. Nico, what is something, and so we have to kind of summarize now, we've got 2 minutes left. Nico, what is something that you would never share? Any kind of data?
I don't think that I'm in the target group is really concerned to share special data. So there's nothing on my mind that I wouldn't share. So maybe it's because I see the benefits and I work with it every day. But right now I haven't found any aspect that I wouldn't share. Doesn't mean that I do it, but theoretically there's nothing.
Jane, what about you? What's something you would never share?
Actually, I share with my app everything. So because you definitely, when you get the value, you understand why you're doing this, and you actually get the value. You're just doing this, and I don't feel that among our users, it's 5 million users after. I don't feel that people are afraid to share their data. They want to be clear about what you are going to do with this data. That's why, we have in our privacy policy that we actually do not have any business model except you're paying us our subscription. We will never share your data with anybody, and you will never get advertised, etc. So people just need transparency and you need to be clear about what you're going to do with this data, and everything will be okay. So it's not that I don't feel that people are scary a lot about this.
Before I let basically Simon make his final comments, I have an additional question for you. I'm asked by Benjamin. You mentioned earlier that the patients will be empowered by the fact that they have more access to more data. How do you see the role of the personal trainer in the future, and will clients also hold the power to take responsibility for their own health?
I think that personal trainer and coaching will be successful business, but because it provides emotional contact. So the hard part, the smart part, insights, recommendations, it will be powered by technology, and technology will be smarter than a doctor and will be able to take into account more facts about you, etc. But we are still social creatures. We are still emotional, and we really need this, feel that somebody cares about us, feel some support, get some engagement from real humans. So it will never stop happening.
Simon, what about you? Final remarks. What is something that you would never share?
Yeah, so similar to the other participants here, as long as it's transparent and as long as I get real value, if I can see that the things I share give me better insights, better guidance, better, prevention. Yeah. And I think that's more and more with digital natives. That's just kind of assumed. that nothing is really private anymore, for good or for bad. But yeah, it's all about transparency and giving real value back to the user and real meaningful interactions.
I really like that, value and transparency. Jane, Nico, Simon, thanks so much for joining me on stage today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stefan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much. I was super excited to hear what you are saying. And probably just one thing from my side, before we say goodbye to all of you for this time, is like, there's probably one piece of data I will never share, like the sex data. But to be honest, it all again depends on like the value that data is providing. So we'll probably need to do another deep dive on femtech and sex tech in the near future. So thank you guys again.
Sounds good.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Right. So we've learned lots of things right now in this panel. And in the meantime, the next panel is getting ready. I will be talking about medical fitness and what that actually means from the viewpoint of fitness technology, how health professionals are using FitTech to treat their patients better. And we'll find out whether the medical fitness is the next super pill. And in the meantime, just a short advertising for the FitTech Club, because we just had 2 members on stage. Simon and Nico are part of the FitTech Club. And if you guys want to have more of these kinds of the conversations and direct connections to each other, to the people who are really influencing the space, you should probably apply too, in case you are an executive or a founder. So after a short introduction, we'll start with the very last session for today. Let's go.